is a steamy Tuesday night in downtown Cincinnati, and we welcome you to Great American Ballpark. The second to last game on this 9-game homestand and the second of 3 against the Chicago Cubs. The Reds coming away winners here in the series opener last night. Jay Bruce and company trying to make it back-to-back wins over the Cubs. And hi again, everybody. Back with Chris Welsh. I'm Tom Brenneman. Welcome, as always, to Reds baseball. We know about the struggles for Johnny Gomes. Could last night, hitting a 3-run home run, also adding an RBI single, be a start to getting him going finally this year?
Well, I think the secret, Tom, was yesterday on his way to the ballpark. He stopped by Atlas Cleaners, and he got high fives and hitting instruction from all the girls who work behind the counter. They said, Johnny, don't worry about what the pitcher's throwing you. Just see the ball and hit it. And that's really when Johnny Gomes can be at his best. Just see the ball, hit it, relax at the plate. He went up in the batter's box a little bit last night, maybe changed his approach a little bit, hit the ball very hard here in batting practice this afternoon, so hopefully he is back to where he ought to be. He is the kind of guy that when he gets hot, he can carry a ball club for a while. Now, the Reds left fielders, you see what they have done. Not very much. .221 batting average, low on base percentage. They've got 33 runs batted in overall. That's about midway to the league. They've got to improve that because that's a power spot, but if Gomes gets hot, he is the kind of guy that can get the whole ball club going.
Well, we'll hope it continues here tonight. The big story, of course, in this one is the return of Edinson Volquez. We'll talk more about him when we return. Need him. Find an agent or get a quote at statefarm.com. By your local Ford dealer. Ford, drive one. By the Regional Tourism Network. Book your trip at CincinnatiUSA.com. And by Skyline, whenever you're feeling good and hungry, it's Skyline time. And it is a warm, warm night tonight. Will it cool off shortly? Let's check in with our friend Jeff Creighton.
All right, the Reds pulled it out last night. Let's hope that the Cubs, being from a more northerly climate, aren't used to the heat. 86 that first pitch, 84 by halfway home. Heading for home, we're 82. Hopefully the humidity doesn't hurt them too much. Go Reds.
Go Reds indeed. Edinson Volquez, yes, that's him, Chris. Almost completely shaved his head. He doesn't even look like the same guy.
No, he doesn't. Let's hope he doesn't pitch in the first inning like the same guy either. That would be nice because he's had his share of first inning problems. But he went down to the minor leagues, Tom, and did a pretty good job. He went down and had an earned run average of 1.80 through strikes. For the most part, he walked some batters down there, but he worked almost exclusively with, not with Ted Power, the regular pitching coach down in AAA, who does a great job, but with Mario Soto, the special assignment pitching coordinator that goes around and solves the Reds' pitching problems. And he hopes that he was able to get through Edinson Volquez. And I think the biggest thing for Edinson is to find the right release spots, find the right arm slot. Not too much sidearm, not too much overhand. Don't throw one pitch from one spot and then another pitch from another. When he's able to do that, he's got all the talent in the world. 97-mile-an-hour fastball with a cartoon changeup. That is enough to get by as a major league pitcher. Let's hope that he's smiling here about inning number 7 or 8.
All right, Reds are ready. And so is Jay Bruce. First pitch up next.
In any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Cincinnati Reds.
Well, we're just about set to go here at Great American Ballpark. Cubs and the Reds. In the second game of this 3-game series, Mike Waddy's starting lineup reads as follows: Kosuke Fukunomiya in right, Darwin Barney in second base, and Starlin Castro at short. Carlos Pena, the first baseman, Aramis Ramirez at third, Blake DeWitt in left. University of Cincinnati alum Tony Campana is in center field. Giovanni Soto behind the plate for left-hander Doug Davis. A lot of anticipation for the return of Edinson Volquez in our Farmers Insurance report card, and his numbers going into play tonight at the big league level.
Not the kind of numbers you'd like to see out of your opening day starter, no doubt about that. The 6.35 earned run average right there kind of tells it all. That and the fact that in all of his starts, and he had 10 starts overall before he was demoted down to the minor leagues. He only went 6 innings or more 2 times out of 10. That's not what you need out of your top of the rotation guy. But you know what? When the Rangers sent him down to the minor leagues years ago, he woke him up. He came back and threw the ball splendidly. You hope the same thing happens here after a short experience down in Louisville.
All right, here we go. Kosuke Fukudome digging in. First pitch is high, ball 1, and we are underway. Paul Noward behind the plate. Doug Eddings, the umpire at first. Vic Carapazza, the umpire at second. And Dana DeMuth, he is at third. Fukudome had a good night here last night. The Cubs piled up 10 hits. They had the same number of hits the Reds had. But the Reds outscored him 8-2. Michael Leake going 8 innings, allowing the 2 runs, getting his 5th win and 7 decisions. Good fastball on the outside corner at 94 miles per hour. Now, you were doing all your research before the game today. What is the scouting report on the home plate umpire, Paul Noward?
Well, Paul Noward, I mean, when you say scouting report, all these guys attempt to call the exact same strike zone. But some guys call a few more strikes than others, and Paul Noward is more of a strike caller. He calls 63.9% of the pitches he sees as strikes. That's on the high side for an umpire. The low side's around 59% to 60%. So we're not varying that much, but he is a strike caller.
Well, there's a strike that sends Fukudome back to the dugout. 1 batter, 1 strikeout for Edinson Volquez. Let's take a look at the Reds on defense presented by Ford. Gomes back in left field, Stubbs in center, Bruce in right, again Cairo and Giannis on the left side, Phillips and Votto on the right, and Ramon Hernandez hanging the signs for Edinson Volquez.
It's a high fastball right there. He throws it upstairs and right by the left-handed hitting Fukudome.
Now Darwin Barney. And a line drive right center field, a base hit. Bruce will cut it off. And Barney with a 1-out single here in the Cubs' first inning.
Young man's a nice little player. There's no doubt about that. A 4th-round draft pick for the Cubs. Played at Oregon State University when they went to the College World Series a couple of years in a row. And he's not the kind of guy that wows you with tools, but he's just a gamer. Knows how to hit, knows what he can do. Probably not a threat to steal, but he's on base, and Volquez has got to take a good look at him.
In their starting lineup tonight, the Cubs have a grand total of 14 stolen bases. And 2 of the players, Castro and Campana, have combined for 10 of the 14. Barney 3 out of 5. It's ball 1 to Starlin Castro. 306 batter with a home run and 26 runs batted in. Castro 1 of 3 in the game last night, drove in a run with a sacrifice fly. Didn't miss by much. 2-0.
Well, he didn't miss by much on either of the first 2 pitches. First a curveball, the last one a fastball. Looks like Volquez has a nice, easy delivery, not jumping too much at the hitters right now.
I'm sure there are a lot of people that are turning on the television and maybe won't be able to read the letters on his back right now and wondering, who is this guy on the mound? I mean, Volquez, we're so used to seeing the very long hair. And I mean, it is nearly completely shaved. 2-0 to Starlin Castro. And a bouncing ball down to third. That is a fair ball. Cairo's throw is in time. 2 away in the inning with Barney advancing on to second base.
Take a look at Edinson Volquez's pitching motion right from the stretch. He starts out nice and straight towards the plate, and you want to make sure he stays that way. And you can see that his direction is really good right there. He comes right out over the front. You see where his glove is at the very end. It's under control. He keeps the front side under control. You keep from flying open too much. If he can duplicate that delivery right there, which resulted in a ground ball to the third baseman, he's going to have good success. Plenty of movement on that pitch.
So runner in scoring position, 2 away for Carlos Pena. Cubs scored in the first inning here last night. As you know, the Reds have given up the most first inning runs among all teams in Major League Baseball. And it really started the the very first day of the year with Edinson Volquez on the mound. That's a tone you don't want to set, but it has been set. Of course, on opening day, gave up home runs to the first two batters of the season in Ricky Weeks and Carlos Gomez in what turned out to be a 3-run Milwaukee first inning. Good breaking ball in there to even the count on Pena at 1 ball and 1 strike. Of the 8 home runs Pena has hit this year in 55 games, his first year as a Cub, 3 of those have come against the Reds. And all 3, if I'm not mistaken, came on first pitch fastball.
Well, he's a fastball hitter, Pena is, and you get a fastball pitcher like Volquez against the fastball hitter, and sometimes he thinks he has to muscle up a little bit. That's what he did on the last pitch. Best thing to do is think about location. Hit a nice little spot down and away right here.
Came back with a breaking ball there, and that evens the count on Pena. 2 balls and 2 strikes. 2-out runner at second. We're just underway, and glad to have you with us on this Tuesday night. 2 teams will wrap it up tomorrow afternoon, and then, Chris, we're on our way to the West Coast.
Yeah, where the temperature, believe it or not, in San Francisco won't get any higher than 64 degrees at the peak during our visit in the city by the bay.
Reds will play 4 games against the defending world champion Giants, and then a 3-game series in Los Angeles. And gone swinging is Pena on a 96-mile-per-hour fastball. Center field. Brandon Phillips at second base with Joey Votto at first. Jay Bruce in a cleanup spot. Johnny Gomes in left batting fifth. Miguel Cairo at third hit sixth. A ladder third of Ramon Hernandez, Paul Janisch at Edinson Volquez against left-hander been around a long time, Doug Davis.
Yeah, he has been around a long time. In his career, he's won 91 ball games, lost 105, and an earned run average about 4.4. This year, the Cubs signed him as a non-roster player just in case they needed some help in their rotation. Indeed, that has happened. 6'4", 215-pounder. 0-4 on the year, looking for his first win, but he has always pitched very well against the Reds.
You know, you brought it up at the tail end of Reds Live about patience against a guy like Davis, who at times has a hard time throwing strikes. There's a first pitch strike to Drew Stubbs, and those are his numbers career-wise against Cincinnati. They're very, very good. Not only patience pitch to pitch, I mean, you have to be patient just when he goes into his windup.
Yeah, you see the hesitation he has in the middle of his delivery, and that's one thing that sets a lot of hitters off, especially those guys that are fast twitch type hitters that are anxious to hit the fastball. I mean, he's been doing this for a long time. I don't know if he started in his career doing this or they adopted it halfway through. But he really gets to that balance point right there and hangs for just a moment. And that upsets a lot of timing from a lot of hitters. I mean, because his fastball now doesn't really go over 85 or 86 miles an hour. It never really was that much of a hard thrower. But he has a fastball that he likes to cut. It goes inside to right-handers, away from lefties. Has a nice little change-up.
Tapper down to Aramis Ramirez, and his throw is in time to get Stubbs. One out to begin the Reds' first inning. We take a look at Chicago defensively. Presented by Ford. Campana to start in center field. To Wood in left and Fucadome in right. Same infield we saw here last night, and again Giovanni Soto is behind the plate. A year ago, Davis was in Milwaukee, went 1-4 with an ERA of up over 7.5 in just 8 starts. And then in the middle of May, he got quite a scare. He wound up on the disabled list until July the 6th. There's a one-hopper at Barney, and Brandon Phillips thrown out quickly, 2 away. Diagnosed with pericarditis. That's inflammation of the lining around the heart. And by the time he got back from that, he came down with left elbow tendonitis and was out of a job, as Chris mentioned, until April, when the Cubs brought him in as a non-roster player. Joey Votto at .336, 8 home runs, 37 batted in. He takes off the outside corner a ball. Votto 1 of 4 here last night. Had a single, was hit by a pitch and scored a run. Votto's been very good on his homestand. 2 home runs, 7 runs batted in, 9 hits and 25 at bats. The breaking ball is taken low and away. 2-1 to Votto with 2 out and nobody on. Jose Reyes of the New York Mets by 1 point with a higher batting average than Joey Votto. So Reyes the league leader. Votto still the league leader in that category. Walked.
Well, there are a couple of players in this lineup tonight that have never faced Doug Davis, despite the fact that he has been around a long time, and Jay Bruce is one of them. The other is Drew Stubbs.
Jay 3 out of 4 here last night, had 2 doubles, a single, scored 3 times. Strike 1. Of course, there was a time when Davis was a regular part of either Milwaukee's rotation, then later Arizona's rotation, where either the Reds, especially with Arizona, they would miss Doug Davis, only playing a team from the West 6 times a year. And it's only been really until the start of last year where, when a left-hander has been on the mound, Bruce has had very much success. There was a time there he wouldn't even start. But my, oh my, how that has changed since the start of the 2010 season. Talked about it earlier on this homestand. The top 2 left-handed batters in the National League going back to the start of the 2010 year against left-handed pitching are Joey Votto and Jay Bruce.
And it's interesting, Tom, how different teams will defend the same player different ways. The Cubs show no inclination at all to put a shift on for Jay Bruce. They're going to play him straight up.
That ball drifting on Blake DeWitt, and the second baseman turned left fielder recently makes a play to retire the side. Reds leave a man. We're scoreless. By Elk and Elk, serious lawyers for serious injuries. Call 1-800-ELK-OHIO. And the rehab numbers for Aroldis Chapman. Now, he has not pitched in a game since last Sunday. Not day before yesterday, but the Sunday before that, May the 29th. And the team has sent him down to Double-A Carolina to continue his rehab work. That occurred today. Ramirez leading off the Chicago's second inning of a scoreless game, and it's 2 balls and no strikes. Batting average not bad for Aramis Ramirez, but boy, the production numbers, the run production numbers are way down.
Yeah, you can say that really about the Cubs as a whole. They are second in the National League this year in team batting average. They're ahead of the Reds, just behind the St. Louis Cardinals, but their run production, their home runs are not even in the same area as either of those teams.
As soon as I say that, he launches one into right field, but Bruce got to it in time but couldn't make the play. And that'll be a double for Aramis Ramirez.
Well, that ball, I think, really fooled Jay Bruce because it was caught in kind of a swirl wind. The wind is blowing pretty good down the river from the west. It's blowing out towards left center field, but this ball kind of gets caught up in it, and the spin that Aramis Ramirez puts on that ball just kind of makes that ball continue to try to get away from Jay Bruce, and Bruce unable to negotiate it, and that goes in for a double. It looks like a lot easier play than it is.
So now Blake DeWitt, the left fielder, looks at ball 1 low and away. DeWitt really swinging a hot bat right now. Raised his batting average 53 points in the last 7 games alone. He has 10 hits in his last 26 at bats. He had a 3-hit game here last night, including a double. And Volquez, for a second straight batter, has fallen behind 2-0. We talked about the first inning, which was such a major hurdle for Volquez to begin this year. But tonight now, 4 of his starts, he's made 11 total, where he is not allowed to run in the first inning. 2-1 the count on Blake DeWitt. 3-1. Getting base hits is not a problem for the Cubs. Their .280 batting average a team with no one on base is the best in all of Major League Baseball. The best. Slightly ahead of St. Louis. But when you put runners in scoring position, they are 24th in the major leagues with a .235 average. No problem here for DeWitt. That ball is clobbered into right center field. Back-to-back doubles, and the Cubs have a 1-0 lead. Well, you fall behind 2-0, you fall behind 3-1. You're just asking for trouble.
Well, especially when you come in exactly what the hitter is looking for, and that's a 3-1 fastball. Well, you talk about a nice level swing. Look at, he puts that on that ball. 95, that doesn't matter. For Blake DeWitt, that's hitting speed. And you get it up right there, right in the center of that sweet spot.
Now Tony Campana, young man we saw him make his major league debut right here in this ballpark. Pitch is taken down around his feet for ball 1.
You know, Tom, you can fall behind hitters if you have good control, and you can throw that 3-1 fastball. It doesn't have to be 95 like the one that Volquez just threw to DeWitt, but it's got to be down around the knees on the corner. Make DeWitt hit a pitcher's pitch, even in a hitter's count. And when you've got a pitcher like Volquez who has struggled with his control, and he just kind of rears back on a 3-1 count and tries to fog it by the hitter, even 95 is not fast enough.
It's 2-0.
And that really ought to be a lesson to a lot of the young pitchers that are out there watching this ball game, is that it's so much more important to throw the ball where you want to than try to get it there faster down the middle.
Running out in front of the plate, not a good bunt. Campana can fly, and then he falls down, hitting the bag, and he appears to be in a lot of pain. He reached immediately either for the left ankle or the left foot. Young man from Springboro High School just outside of Cincinnati. Told you he played collegiately at the University of Cincinnati, and we hope he's going to be all right.
You know, he went to the bag in kind of a funny motion. He almost bent his body like he was trying to avoid hitting Joey Votto. Now, Votto was near the bag and near the baseline, but that belongs to the fielder right there. Campana needs to be on the outside of the baseline, and he's not running where he ought to be running, and he clips the bag as he goes past. He was blazing up the line. But you see where he is. He's actually on the fair side of the baseline. He's on this side up here, when you really ought to be running in that running lane down there. And that's one of the reasons why he put himself in a bad position. Slipped on the very top of the bag right there. Unfortunately, he's not hurt. He's going to get up and walk back to the dugout.
Well, using those legs is how Campana made his mark in the minor leagues and is playing here at the major leagues. 144 stolen bases in a little less than 4 full minor league seasons. So good to see. Appears to be just fine. So he fails to advance the runner DeWitt, who still stays at second base. And now the number 8 hitter Giovanni Soto settling in. 213 batter is Soto. Breaking ball almost hit him. 3 home runs and 12 knocked in.
Pretty good hitter for a former Rookie of the Year, batting the number 8 spot. You just wonder what happened to Soto after that first year when he came on the scene and just tore up National League pitching.
One and 0 to Soto. DeWitt leads at second. DeWitt has knocked in the game's first run. Back-to-back doubles by Aramis Ramirez, and then the one to knock him in by DeWitt. Volquez pitching from behind every batter here in this Cubs second inning. 2-0 on Ramirez, 3-1 on DeWitt, 2-1 now on Soto. And there's a base hit into right field. They're going to hold the runner at third as Bruce comes up firing. And the Cubs have him on the corners. Still only one out.
Oh, nice job of hitting right here by Soto, just trying to stay inside the ball, and he does exactly that. That's a fastball by Edinson Volquez, and up a little higher than he wanted it, but not all that bad of a pitch.
Well, now Ramon Hernandez is going to come out to the mound, talk with Volquez, and Miguel Cairo going to listen in.
Well, there's no speed on the base pass, so they're not talking about a double steal or any such nonsense like that. They are talking about how they may defend against this bunt. It may be just a straight sacrifice by Doug Davis to go ahead and try to advance the runner from first to second, stay out of a double play that would end the inning. Ivan De Jesus coming in to give him a talking to. He was a pretty good player in his day, I'll tell you that, De Jesus.
Of course, we just saw his son. He just got called up to the Los Angeles Dodgers, who were just in town over the weekend. Ball one to Davis. Davis 0 for 3 as a batter, has one sacrifice. Cairo creeping in from third. Davis squares, puts it down. Hernandez will look to run it back to third, and Davis advances. Giovanni Soto on to second. 2 out. Well, now a big batter for Edinson Volquez. He's already given up a run in this inning. The Cubs have a pair of runners in scoring position and a good hitter in Fukudome coming up. With the runner at third, Giovanni Soto at second. And it's ball one to Fukudome, who struck out leading off the game.
Now this is really where Edinson Volquez needs to tell himself, it's not how hard I throw right here, it's where I put the pitches. He had a very nice at bat against Fukudome to lead the ball game off. But on that last pitch, it just like he was trying to throw as hard as he could.
One and one.
Pretty good looking backdoor curveball right there.
Jay, there's some things that just don't add up. You see those numbers for Fukudome, a .381 batter with runners in scoring position. We talked about the Cubs as a team and how bad they have been in that category, and how good they are hitting with nobody on base. And here you have Fukudome on the year that's batting up over .310 with gaudy numbers, runners in scoring position. Yet he only has 6 runs driven in. It's hard to sort of piece together.
Well, you know, it depends where in the lineup he's hitting. If he's hitting the leadoff spot, he's not getting very many guys on ahead of him.
Three and one the count.
Got a base open.
Boy, Volquez just continues to fall behind every hitter in this inning.
Well, he did not look like he wanted to give Fukudome, who is a very good fastball hitter, a fastball to hit in that situation. He threw him a curveball, he threw him changeups, he threw another curveball, he finally walked him on a 3-1 changeup. I think he'd rather take his chances with the young second baseman Darwin Barney.
Even though, of course, Barney smoked one into right center field for a base hit in the Chicago first inning.
He did. He jumped on a first pitch fastball that was pretty much right down Broadway. Now that you really need to get a base hit, pressure's on the hitter, not the pitcher. But you got to stay back over the rubber long enough to let your arm catch up with your body, and that's what Volquez's last delivery did not do.
Bases loaded. Cubs leading 1-0. Threw a fastball right by him there. It even accounted a ball and a strike.
And now you got him set up to use your other pitches, and more likely a changeup than a curveball.
1 ball, 1 strike on Darwin Barney. Bases loaded and 2 men are out. Swing and a miss, and the bat goes flying all the way past the very end of the Cub dugout.
Well, there's a lot of different ways to measure how good a pitcher's changeup is. But when you get that much yardage on a bat throw, you've got a pretty good combo working. So now Barney's thinking, all right, I don't want to do that again. That was embarrassing. Have to call timeout, go get my bat back. It's all nicked up now because it banged around on the cement. And meanwhile, Volquez is thinking, hey, maybe I can sneak this fastball by you about eye high on the outer part of the plate.
They're loaded for the Cubs, leading 1-0 here in the second inning. It's 1 ball and 2 strikes to Darwin Barney.
Had a changeup grip in his hand. Now we'll wonder if Volquez will change that.
All right, Edinson ready.
That's the changeup coming.
Just a little bit low.
Now this is where you want to get a decision on a 2-2 count.
DeWitt, Soto, and Fukudome aboard. Votto playing a good 25 feet off the first base line. Barwin, we've seen, can really hit it the other way, and the 2-2 is nowhere close to the plate. So now the runners get started on a 3-2 pitch. And Volquez has already eclipsed the 40 pitch mark here in the second inning. Well, the merry-go-round begins, and here's a payoff pitch, and we'll do it again. Now, we have not seen Barney very much. Obviously, this is his first season in the major leagues. But the games we have seen him, he can wear you out fouling pitches off. For guys who are strike throwers, that's not necessarily a really big deal besides just wearing you out a little bit. For guys that struggle with command, these guys give you fits.
Well, you can see him just waiting, telling himself, I'm not going to get fooled by the off-speed pitch, and I'm just going to flick my bat out there to stay alive by maybe getting a foul ball on a fastball. We see Joey Votto do that a lot. And that can wear you down as a pitcher, not necessarily physically, but mentally. You finally get to the point where, all right, now, we just put the ball in play, please?
Another 3-2 pitch to Barney, and it's a ground ball to the second baseman. So Volquez able to retire Barney and leave him loaded. Cubs get a run and lead 1-0.
You know, he saw us run 20 straight, day off, and then a bunch of straight, again straight. So you just got to bring it every day. You know, you never know what's going to happen. You know, a couple line outs and then boom, you know, 2 hits with a home run, you know, following day.
Our Geico direct quote from Johnny Gomes, who has struggled so mightily to begin this 2011 year, really after slumping over the final couple of months of last year.
I mean, he's got a long way to go. I mean, you know, just because he had a great game yesterday doesn't mean that he's locked in like Jay Bruce. But we've seen him in the past, and he's got the capability of being hot and carrying the ball club for a short period of time, a week or 2 or 3. And sometimes you don't know what it is. It's like all of a sudden the switch goes on, and there you are. You're seeing the ball, and it's coming to you, and you're putting the bat on it.
Well, Johnny to lead things off against Doug Davis. Cubs have a 1-0 lead here in the second inning. Miguel Cairo to follow, and then Ramon Hernandez. Strike one to Johnny. Davis walked Joey Votto in the first inning after 2 were out, but took care of Jay Bruce to end the frame on a fly ball to left. Davis making his 4th start, and he has lost all 4 thus far since being brought up from the minor leagues. Now, his last start, he actually threw the ball pretty well against Houston. 6 1/3 innings, allowed 3 runs, 8 hits, did not walk a batter. The start prior to that, he walked 6 in 4 2/3 against the Pirates.
Well, he's always seemed to have pitched very well against the Reds. In fact, in the 16 games he's pitched against the Reds, Davis's team, whoever he's been on, has won 10 and only lost 6. He personally is 6-3 against the Reds. Has not given up more than 3 runs since 2009 against the Reds ball club. I mean, he's had complete game shutouts. He's had several games where he's gone 8 or 9 innings, given up 1 run or less. You look at his stuff and you say, how did that happen? But he gives you one of those comfortable 0 for 4s. All of a sudden you look up and you're 0 for.
Three balls and a strike on Johnny Gomes, and Davis trying to work him in. That's the one thing you notice about Davis. Not a hard thrower, but boy, he's never been afraid to pitch inside on guys, even with a fastball, like you said, Chris, around 85, 86, 87 miles an hour.
Well, he's such an experienced pitcher now that he knows what his stuff can do. He's not ever tempted anymore to rear back and try to just throw it as hard as he can out of frustration or whatever else. He knows that his best opportunity to get a hitter out is give the hitter a chance to get himself out.
Payoff pitch coming to Gomes. And it's pulled down the left field line. A base hit for Johnny. Over to get it is Blake DeWitt. And that's a leadoff single for the Reds left fielder here in the second inning.
Really like this at bat by Johnny Gomes. He got down 0-1. This is a big roundhouse curveball shown by our Exmo. Brought to you by Performance Honda. And Johnny Gomes just stays right on it. Keeps his head still, puts a nice level swing on it, and picks up a base hit. So see the ball a little bit better.
Gomes with 5 stolen bases in 7 attempts. Here's Miguel Cairo. He takes a strike. Cairo again in there for Scott Rowland, who came down with a case of strep throat. He's feeling better, but they want to make sure he's back at 100% before they get him back in there.
Or get him on that crowded airplane all the way from here to San Francisco.
Two and one to Cairo. St. Louis Cardinals will be back in action tonight. The Reds, with their win, picked up a half game on the front-running Redbirds. They start a series tonight down at Minute Maid Park in Houston. 2-2 to Cairo. I'd like to tell you, you can get a $34 field box seat for any game during the Toronto Blue Jays series for just $24. Go to Reds.com/Ticket Tuesday right now and save $10 on a field box seat for the Reds and Blue Jays, June 17th, 18th, and 19th. That'll be a weekend, Friday night, Saturday night, and a Sunday afternoon. And, of course, the Yankees come in Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday of the following week. And there's a bouncing ball. Ramirez dives, throws, and just does get going. It's a nice play down there by Ramirez.
Well, he goes a couple of steps to his left. Ramirez does. He's well off the bag right there. And he takes a base hit away from Miguel Cairo. That's a nice play. Had there not been a man on first base, there's no way that you would have gotten Cairo at first. So the fielder's choice and one down.
Now Ramon Hernandez. Batting average at .320, 7 home runs, 17 runs batted in. Cubs lead 1-0. They got back-to-back doubles in the second inning against Edinson Volquez by Aramis Ramirez and Blake DeWitt. The Cubs would go on to load the bases before Volquez retired Darwin Barney on a ground ball to Brandon Phillips. The Cubs came limping into this series to start it with a 6-game losing streak. They went to a season high 7 with a loss here last night. And they are in an even 12 games under 500. Mike Quaddy, of course, took over for Lou Piniella, whose mother became ill about 2/3 of the way through last season. Piniella wound up retiring, and Quade took over, and the Cubs played very good baseball. I mean, it was a terrible year, make no mistake about it. But they went 24-13 under Quade, and to the surprise of Sylvain, he got the managerial job full-time, removing that interim tag over certainly the fan favorite Ryne Sandberg, former great second baseman, Hall of Fame second baseman for all those years with the Cubs.
Of course, then Ryne Sandberg was managing in the Cubs AAA organization, managing the AAA club, and as soon as he did not get the job, he jettisoned out of the Cubs organization and hooked up as a manager with the Phillies.
Which is ironic because, of course, Sandberg started his professional career with the Philadelphia Phillies. Double play ball here, and this will do it in the inning. So a leadoff hit by Gomes, but no damage. We move to the third where the Cubs have a 1-0 lead.
That is lower. I know it may be hard to see, but if you get a good look at it, this is clearly a higher arm angle on the fastball than the changeup. And that's what Edinson Volquez has done really throughout his career. When he throws that changeup, it's natural to try to drop your arm a little bit so you hurry your elbow through and turn the ball over. But that's one thing that Mario Soto's tried to get into his head time after time. You've got to have the same release point, or a big league hitter will pick that up immediately and know what's coming.
Starlin Castro to lead things off here in the Chicago third inning. 1 run, 4 hits for the Cubs. They've left 4 men on base. Reds with a hit and 1 man left. To Castro, and it's a bouncing ball right at Votto, and he'll feed Volquez at the bag. 1 out. Well, for Reds player, it's a Toyota sign out in right center field during our game tonight. Jeff and Susan Moore of Cincinnati, who currently owns a Sienna, will win the beautiful new Tundra. There you see it on display here at Great American Ballpark every day, and you can register for your chance to win it at an upcoming game by stopping by your Cincinnati or Northern Kentucky Toyota dealer. Hello there to you folks out there on the Cincinnati Bell riverboat deck. It's got to be a little toasty up there, I would imagine.
Yeah, but they've got a nice breeze blowing. That breeze coming in from the west right down the river. May feel more like a furnace breeze right now, but it's something going. They've got some cold refreshments up there, I think, to keep them cool.
I think that's probably a real safe bet. Carlos Pena struck out, ending the first inning.
Well, you'd like to get him on a fastball. They struck him out on a fastball the first time, but set him up with the off-speed stuff first. This guy's got a ton of power. You leave a ball out over the plate, he can hit it about as far as anyone.
Pena, in his first season as a Cub, signed a 1-year contract coming over from Tampa Bay. We started to touch on it a little bit last night. Of course, all the speculation, and it started back in spring training. It continued last weekend when Albert Pujols won games on Saturday and Sunday with game-ending home runs against the Cubs. And it will continue throughout the rest of this year and perhaps in October and November. Will the Cubs be a player to try and acquire as a free agent Albert Pujols when the season is over? A lot of people look around and they look at really about a handful of teams that could afford Pujols. I don't think anybody's going to give him the 10-year contract, but whatever the length of the contract, it's going to be for a pile of money.
Well, you know who's going to be watching that with a lot of interest is Prince Fielder.
Yes.
Because if Pujols ends up not going to Chicago for one reason or another, the main reason he would stay in St. Louis, and they finally come and work out a deal. But I'm sure a nice backup plan for Cubs fans would be Prince Fielder.
Well, I think any team in baseball would love to have Prince Fielder all day, every day. Because he plays all day, every day.
He plays hard, but there's about 5 or 6 teams out there. That a lot of them are large market teams that don't need a first baseman. They don't need one in New York. They don't need one in Boston. Those are the first 2 places you look if you're a premier free agent.
You know, we had that shot there a minute ago. Those fans, a bunch of Cardinal fans hanging out here at Great American Ballpark tonight. They must have made a wrong turn somewhere.
They certainly did when they put their hat on.
Well, we're sure that they're nice people. It's nice to have them here in Cincinnati.
Absolutely.
Enjoying the ball game.
Let's hope the Cardinal fans are as equally hospitable to the Reds and Reds fans when they make their way over the 4th of July holiday.
They will be.
To St. Louis.
They will be.
When those 2 teams last saw each other, they weren't very happy with each other.
No, they were not. And it drifted into the next number of days after that series was over. Reds sweeping the Cardinals here 3 in a row. But of course the Cardinals have been, if not the best, one of the best teams in the game since that sweep. Straight away center field. Nice play by Drew Stubbs, and there are 2 out in the inning. I mean, the Cardinals have been nothing shy of spectacular since they got swept. A lot like when the Reds got swept against the Cardinals last year, and they just ran away from them. They're 11 games over 500. I mean, their only little hiccup here of late was against the Giants. When they split a 4-game series, they should have lost 3 out of 4, but the bottom line is they split. And as soon as the Giants left town, the Cubs came in, and St. Louis swept them. Fly ball in the right. And that's that. 1-2-3 for Volquez in the 3rd. Giannis, Volquez, Stubbs coming up. Reds trail 1-0. Your answer to 37664, standard texting rate supply. All Giannis to lead things off here in the Reds' 3rd inning. Cincinnati trailing 1-0. Giannis 0 for 3 here in the game last night. He drew a walk. 1-1. Well, what do you think, Chris? Should baseball regulate those collisions at the plate?
I'm not sure how you would, short of putting up an orange cone about halfway down the baseline.
Giannis rips one into left field, a base hit.
You know, I thought Johnny Bench had some very interesting comments about that collision, and this is all brought to a head mainly because, of course, the collision at home plate with Scott Cousins and Buster Posey, where Posey broke his ankle, tore ligaments, horrible injury, and it really hurts the Giants because he was a nice young player. There it is right there. But Bench's comments were, here he is blocking the plate, he doesn't have the ball. And he says, Bench never did that. And, you know, it's just a whole unfortunate thing. But I don't think it's worth a rule change, certainly not. I know that the general manager of the Giants have come out very strongly, talked about it, talked about Cousins themselves. Now they've distanced themselves from the remarks a little bit. But, you know, we remember that one. Norm Charlton
on Mike Scioscia. Ray Langford, I believe that was Darren Gold. Mike Scioscia came out and said, hey, that's part of the game.
Yeah.
And no one got hit more than he got hit.
You know, if I'm a general manager, I thought it was interesting what Billy Beane told his catcher out in Oakland, saying, you don't have to block the plate. One run in one game is not worth, losing you for the rest of the season. We all know that. Pete Rose and Ray Fosse in the All-Star game. And I happen to agree with that. Of course, back in the day, I thought that I saw one TV show, Tom, where Bobby Valentine was talking, and back in the day, catcher's gloves were such that you had to hold it with two hands. You couldn't catch a ball with one hand and have the ball in it because the gloves weren't made like that. They were more like a pillow. But now a catcher's mitt, you can catch a ball, squeeze the ball, hold it, and make a swipe tag and not have to block the plate. So there are a lot of ways to do it without getting yourself in right in the middle of the dish and having some guy bearing down on you.
All right, now we're back to this game. Runner at second base after the sacrifice by Edinson Volquez. And here's Drew Stubbs. He bounced out to the third baseman, leading off the Reds' first inning. Reds trailing 1-0. And Stubbs looks at strike one from Doug Davis.
Well, if you think that Doug Davis pays an extraordinary amount of attention to runners on the base paths, well, you're exactly right. Giannis not an accomplished base stealer, but Doug Davis is an accomplished pitcher getting guys off the bases.
That one tomahawked. It'll sail over the head of Blake DeWitt, and this will bring in the tying run on a double by Drew Stubbs.
He's fooled badly on a changeup his first time up. This time he gets a fastball about belt high, and he hits it on a line right over the left fielder's head. Tremendous power Drew Stubbs has, and he finds himself on second base. Be a great opportunity right here if he could get some kind of a lead. If Darwin Barney doesn't keep him too close at second base, Stubbs may want to think about stealing third here, but Barney's standing right on the bag. So you can ixnay that idea.
Strike one to Brandon Phillips. Hit a hard one hopper at the second baseman Barney in the first inning. Of course, Barney is having to cheat, as Chris talked about, to try and keep Stubbs close. There's a lot of room on the right side of that infield between Barney and Pena, and then between Pena and the bag. But it's hooked foul down the third baseline out of play. 0-2.
Yeah, really what that tells me, and should tell Brandon Phillips, is that Doug Davis, who has a cut fastball that runs into his hands, is going to keep that on him, just like he did on that last pitch. Phillips could do nothing but pull that ball foul. So they're going to keep it in on it, because you've got a lot of space over here. You've got the first baseman way off the bag, so he's got a lot of space to cover. They're going to keep that ball in on Brandon Phillips and just try to make him pull it.
0-2 to Phillips. Struck him out. First strikeout of the game for the Cub left-hander, and that'll bring Joey Votto to the plate.
Boy, in, and then a little backdoor slider cutter right there for Doug Davis, and picks up a strikeout. Not a very patient at bat for Brandon Phillips.
Go-ahead run at second base. Votto walked his first time up. There are 2 outs in the inning. And there's ball one high.
The point I was making about Doug Davis is that in his career, he has either picked off or had runners thrown out while he's pitcher caught stealing, is what they call it, 77 times. And just the 45 pickoffs he has is 8th most in the last 20 years in all of Major League Baseball. I mean, that's a product of two things. Number one, you have to have some runners on base to do that. Number two, you have to pay attention to him. And at one time, he was regarded as having one of the better, if not best, pickoff move by any left-hander around.
Yeah, I was talking to Lance McCord the other day, and we were talking about, you know, moves over the last 20 years, and he felt like Davis was right in that category, along with Andy Pettit. You know, Pettit was a guy, of course, who had such a great move. A lot of people felt like he was bordering on a balk. One and one Nevada.
What did Lance say about that?
Felt Pettit, you know, probably when all was said and done, had the best move. Well, what a career Andy Pettit had.
Boy, you're not kidding.
Yeah, he still has.
He did have a good move.
One and one to Joey Votto, and it's taken up and in. 2 balls and a strike on Votto. See if Votto can break this 1-1 tie on a 2-1 pitch. Stubbs the runner out at second base. And pull to the right side. Davis will get there in time to end the inning. But Giannis will lead off single. They butt him over. Stubbs knocks him in, and we're tied at 1. TM Food Group. By your Cincinnati and Northern Kentucky Toyota dealers. By Geico, 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. Visit geico.com or call 1-800-947-AUTO. And by Sonic, America's Drive-In. It's new, it's better. It's the new Sonic Good.
And, of course, get ready for the Reds action 30 minutes before every game with Reds Live on Fox Sports Ohio. Reds Live is everything a Reds fan needs to get ready for the game. Reds Live presented by Ray St. Clair Roofing.
So 1-1 game as Edinson Volquez climbs the hill here for the top of the 4th inning. Blake DeWitt knocked in the only Chicago run of the game in the second with a double to right center that played to Aramis Ramirez. Campana to follow, and then Giovanni Soto. Volquez worked out of a bases loaded jam in that second inning, and then came back with a 1-2-3 third right through the heart of the order. Giannis sprinting out, and it drops in between Giannis and goes.
Well, That ball looked like it had enough hang time on it that someone would have gotten there, but I don't think Johnny Gomes saw it very well coming off the bat. He didn't move very quickly. He's playing deep anyway because DeWitt's got some power. And he went a little bit to the line and then realized, uh-oh, that's going to be in no man's land.
So the leadoff man aboard, Campana tried to bunt a runner from second to third his first time up. This one slapped foul and out of play.
Hey, Reds fans, if you're in the restaurant industry, let JTM Food Group help you with the great tasting products for your menu. Inspired solutions, better results. JTM.
For those of you just joining us, Campana went to Springboro High School. He played at the University of Cincinnati. All Big East performer. His final 2 years with the Bearcats.
The first time up, he ran across the bag up there and slipped on the top of the bag. It looked like for a moment that he would really injured himself, but after a couple of minutes laying on the ground and evaluating that pain, he stays in the ball game.
Campana drafted in the 13th round in 2008 out of UC. He has gone swinging. Third strikeout of the night for Edinson Volquez, his first since the first.
Well, Tony Campana did not get drafted by the Reds, but the Reds did pick a player from University of Cincinnati baseball. It was Dan Jensen, who's from Centerville, Ohio, and senior pitcher. Got a 3.1 earned run average. And looking forward to playing for his Cincinnati Reds.
A double play off the bat of Soto will take care of things in the fourth. Bruce to lead it off in a 1-1 game. One of the first 20,000 fans through the gate receive Reds Spirit Hair, courtesy of Queen City Sausage. 513-381-REDS, a number to dial for tickets, or you can log on at Reds.com right now. When the Reds get it done with an RBI this year, that means another $25 from Shakely goes to the Reds Community Fund. Shakely, it's done. Jay Bruce to lead things off, followed by Johnny Gomes and Miguel Cairo. Cubs got a run in the second inning. The Reds tied it in the bottom of the third. Now to Jay Bruce, and a borderline strike. It's 3-1. Just beyond the reach of Darwin Barney into right center field, and Bruce extends his hitting streak. Leadoff single here in the Reds' fourth inning.
The guy is locked in. You know, we have seen Bruce over the course of his short major league career get hot and just be unconscious for a while, but we've never seen him do it over such an extended period of time. He did it throughout the entire month of May. Here he is getting into the middle of June. The same thing is beginning to happen. Nice smooth swing, level swing. He is really letting the game come to him.
It's a 9-game hitting streak now for Jay Bruce, which he's hit better than .430. And here's Johnny. He had a single into left field his first time up. Two. Full slate of games in both leagues tonight. Milwaukee has not lost since they left Cincinnati. They've ripped off 4 consecutive wins. Went down and really put a whipping on the Florida Marlins. Marlins have lost 5 in a row, and Gomes has gone on strikes. Chased a pitch up around his neck. We'll look around baseball. A series beginning tonight at Yankee Stadium between the Red Sox and the New York Yankees. The Yanks leading by a game in that division. The Reds play hit and run, and you can't draw it up any better than that. As Cairo punches one into right field, and Bruce goes first to third. Well done by Miguel Cairo.
Yeah, great call by Dusty Baker. You got to know your personnel. You have to know the pitcher that you're facing. And overall, pretty much a contact pitcher. Cairo gets a ball down, is able to get it on the ground and find the hole on the right side.
Hey, the guy is just a rock-solid player to have on your team. I mean, he's not going to hit the home run ball. You know, he's not going to bunt drive in a bunch of runs. But, man, you can play him anywhere. He gives you good at-bats most of the time. Those numbers, you know, the 16th year is the part that stands out more than anything there.
Yeah, you're exactly right about that. You know, and only really a year and a half was he really an everyday player. All the other time in his career, he was a backup player, utility player. And in order to do that, you've got to be good at a lot of different positions, do little things like he just did, the hit and run.
Fly ball that's deep enough to bring in the runner from third. Focadomi will throw into second. So you play hit and run. Cairo does the job, and Hernandez takes care of business. The Reds have their first lead of the night.
Actually, perfectly the way it's set up with the Reds. Jay Bruce gets on. He goes to third on a hit and run, and then you have Ramon Hernandez, who's a very good fly ball hitter. When he wants to make contact, Ramon can do that. He could probably come out of bed and hit a sacrifice fly for you without even thinking about it. So just like that, you buy another run. Now you got a lead.
Well, Giannis started the third inning with a base hit, scored the first Reds run on the double by Drew Stubbs. And here's strike one to Giannis.
If you're Paul Giannis, you want to keep the inning alive, if for no other reason than just simply bringing Volquez to the plate in this inning, so that he doesn't have to lead off a fifth inning if you make it out right here.
To finish a thought on Boston and New York opening that series tonight. They're in the third inning, and Boston a game behind the Yankees, leading 4-1. That's going to be a lot of fun when the Yankees come rolling into Cincinnati. That'll be on the next homestand after the Reds go to San Francisco and Los Angeles. Runner goes first to second. It's hooked down the left field line. Will this stay fair? It does not. Well, you've got a 3-1 lead.
Miguel Cairo gambled on that one. He went to second base on the very first move that Doug Davis made, just trying to play the odds that he wasn't going to come on first base. He had a very short lead. That's one of those veteran plays right there where you shorten up your lead and you give the pitcher an indication, hey, I'm not going, because I would never steal with a 2-foot lead. But that's exactly what he did. It worked once, but don't try it on this one, because he's liable to come over. Plus, he's probably tired from running from first to third on a hot night.
1-2, and Cairo not running, and there's a swing and a miss to end the inning. But the Reds get a leadoff hit by Bruce, a hit and run single by Cairo, an RBI by Hernandez, and it's a 1-run lead. Buckeye Maurice Clarett. That'll be the Dan Patrick Show tomorrow at 9 on Fox Sports Ohio. Well, Edinson Volquez, returning from the minor leagues here tonight, has been in trouble only one inning. That was the second inning. He allowed back-to-back doubles by Aramis Ramirez and Blake DeWitt to put the Cubs in front 1-0. The Cubs would load the bases later in the inning, and he got Darwin Barney on a ground ball to second. Since then, only one Cub has reached over the last 2 innings.
Well, he's only walked one batter, and that was somewhat of an intentional walk with a base open, second and third, and Fukudome at the plate.
Plenty of time for Cairo. It's a pitcher running. Doug Davis, 1 out. All right, Chris, what about our AT&T trivia question tonight?
All right, what is it? 1976. Who broke Mike Schmidt's home run record at Ohio University?
In Athens, Ohio. And that is a single season record, by the way. That is not home runs for a career. But Michael Jack Schmidt.
Well, what big leaguers went through there? I know that Steve Swisher went through Ohio U not too long after Mike Schmidt. Of course, he's the father of Nick Swisher, now patrolling the outfield for the New York Yankees.
Of course, Nick Swisher went to Ohio State University. We're talking about the Bobcats.
Your alma mater.
Indeed. Had a big alumni function here recently over at the Montgomery Inn. I know Frank Solich, football coach, he'll be rolling through town sometime this summer talking up Bobcats football. They've signed a lot of kids from Cincinnati and Northern Kentucky over the last 3 or 4 years.
It's always a good idea.
1-1. They've had very good teams ever since Solich came there. Gone to a bowl game twice, first 2 times in school history. He's done a really good job there after leaving Nebraska. Two and 1 on Kosuke Fukudome, who struck out and drawn a walk. Lined into right center field, and a diving play made by Drew Stubbs. It never ceases to amaze you at the ground that Stubbs covers the last few feet before the ball hits the ground.
Well, that's a great shot right there because it gave us a location of where he started, how far he had to come, and how fast he was going when he dove to make that catch.
What a play.
Let's take another look at that play by Drew Stubbs. This is where he is, out here in center field, and all the area he has to cover to catch that ball. And he just keeps coming and coming, and a dive right there. So Volquez has got to be thinking, all right, I'm even now. I had one drop in that probably should have been caught, and I had one caught that maybe shouldn't have been caught. But you can see why that every scout that comes into town, Tom, we see them all the time. There's at least 6 or 7 Major League scouts at each one of these games. And, you know, you get talking to them, and without exception, they talk about Drew Stubbs. Just a thoroughbred that he is, what a terrific upside he has, and between Bruce and Stubbs in the outfield and Bono at first base and Brandon Phillips, now you are just locked in on your right side of your field.
In the center field, that'll be a 2-out single by Darwin Barney. That'll keep the inning alive for Castro. Reds leading by a run. We're in the 5th. You know, with Barney, you've gotten to look really a microcosm of this entire Cub team in his 3 at-bats tonight. He comes up in the first inning with 1 out and nobody on, base hit. He comes up with the bases loaded in the second inning and grounded out to Brandon Phillips. And he bats with 2 outs and nobody on here in the 5th inning and a base hit to center. That's not picking on Barney, because he's actually one of the few Cubs who has pretty good numbers in runners in scoring position, but that is their year so far offensively. The highest team batting average in the league, major leagues, with nobody on base. and among the worst with runners on base. And one on Starlin Castro. For Barney, 3 out of 5 in stolen base attempts. Tonight, Castro has bounced out to third and grounded out to Joey Votto. What are your impressions tonight so far, Chris Welsh, on Edinson Volquez?
I like this tempo. He's slowed his delivery down a little bit. He's not quite as jumpy out there. He doesn't seem to be falling into the temptation of just trying to blow the hitters away with a fastball. He's actually trying to pitch a little bit. I think the time spent down in Louisville with Teddy Power and Mario Soto has done him some good. Plus, he found a barber on the way up from Louisville. That probably feels a lot better on a hot day like today. He's only really labored in the second inning. That's when he had 30 pitches. When you dial up a couple like 11 and 8 in a row, boy, you'll get right back on track.
Oh, and to the count on Starlin Castro, and again paying a lot of attention to Darwin Barney over there. You know, the Cubs just don't do much, and we've talked about this really all the way back to our conversation with Mike Quaddy going back to the end of last year, and again reinforcing that our first time into Chicago this year. He's not a big believer at all in the bunt. He'll come right out there and tell you he doesn't like giving away outs. He said, now that's not to say in a 2-2 game in the 8th inning I'm not going to bunt with a leadoff man aboard. But by and large, it's not like the sacrifice. They don't do much hitting and running. Of course, you got to play to your personnel in that regard. But you know, when we watch the Cubs, to me, and we don't see them every day, but to me, they have a number of hitters in this lineup. Just based on the times we've seen them play, whether it's Fukudome, whether it's Barney for sure, Castro undoubtedly because he rarely ever swings and misses, Blake DeWitt, haven't seen Campana enough, Soto without a doubt. I mean, it seems to me you've got a lot of players on this team that you could do some things with in terms of hitting and running. There's a fly ball to right, and that'll end the inning. Middle of the 5th, Reds lead 2-1. fireworks show that night thanks to Klosterman Baking Company. 381 Reds, or visit Reds.com today. Our old buddy Chip Klosterman, still running the family business, been around for ever and a day here in Cincinnati. And their strike to Edinson Volquez, leading things off here in the Reds' fifth.
Location is everything. I mean, it looked like Aramis Ramirez dropped a little alligator arm on this ball. Didn't want to get it because he thought that the shortstop, Starlin Castro, was right there to get it, who also alligator armed it. And if you talk to the Cubs people, the insiders, the coaches, the broadcasters, this is the kind of stuff they see every day.
Bruce Tubbs looks at a ball. Drew, and that one is ripped into left center field, a base hit. On to second goes Edinson Volquez. So now we begin the third time through the lineup for Doug Davis. Second time through the lineup. The Reds produced a couple of runs, and now they have 2 on with nobody out here in the fifth inning.
Brandon Phillips is one guy that has not been all that patient tonight. Swung at the first pitch he saw the first time up, grounded the second baseman, chased an 0-2 pitch out of the strike zone. Actually did not even get one good strike to swing at in that at bat, but struck out. Slow it down a little bit and let it come to you, Brandon.
So Phillips 0 for 2 in the game, is grounded to second and struck out, and he takes a breaking ball high. Ball 1. The count on Brandon Phillips. Edinson Volquez tapped one that somehow, some way, got through into left field in between Aramis Ramirez and Starlin Castro, and then advances to second on a single by Stubbs. And it's low. 2 balls and a strike on Brandon. Let's see if the Reds can get a little breathing room here for Volquez in this inning. It's high. 3 balls and a strike. For Votto with nobody out. Everybody pacing around in that dugout, clearly not happy. Will send his pitching coach Mark Riggins out to the mound. They have Rodrigo Lopez, a right-hander whom they just brought up. He gave up a home run to lose a game the other day to Albert Pujols. He's cranking it up in the Chicago pen. Two walks in a game for Davis. He's allowed 2 runs, 7 hits, and he struck out 3. Votto ready. Bases loaded. Nobody out. Strike 1. Joey's walked and bounced out to the second baseman Barney. Reds leading 2-1. Volquez at third. Stubbs at second base. Brandon Phillips on at first. Davis really taking the air out of the ball here in this at bat with Votto. Finally okays his sign in the 0-1. He is low.
Well, this is where he really slows it down. Davis does. And if you're anxious at all at the plate, he plays into your enthusiasm and your over aggressiveness. But Votto is not that kind of hitter to be fooled into that. He's had 2 very patient at bats already. You may have seen Votto look up, and he does this just about before every pitch. He gets into the batter's box, and he'll look up somewhere up into the high reaches of Great American Ballpark, looking for an empty part of the stands or something just to kind of clear his head, so that when he gets into the batter's box and now focuses on the pitcher, he starts with a blank mind. No baggage. Worked for him so well last year, he won the MVP.
Reds have him loaded with nobody out. Leading 2-1. We're in the bottom of the 5th inning. Big pitch right here coming up. 2 balls, 2 strikes. They set up inside to Votto and just miss inside.
Well, Davis wanted to know where that ball was, and Paul Nauert told him that ball was inside. Came around the plate.
We'll do it again at 3-2. I'm amazed by that number on a full count. The National League average is a 205 battle. And Votto's 62 points better than that. Here's a 3-2 pitch. He walks in a run. Reds lead 3-1. His 38th run batted in, and now the team leader in that category with 46. Here's Jay Bruce. 1 of 2 in a game. Has fly to left, single to right center, and scored a run.
Boy, be ready on the first pitch here if you get your pitch. Oh, with a whole slew of right-handed batters coming up.
this may well be the final hitter that Doug Davis faces tonight. Mike Quaddy taking a long look down at his lineup card. Stubbs, Phillips, and Votto aboard with none out. Little foul way out in front. Quaddy almost has the look of a football coach in Chicago, doesn't he?
Football teams have been better recently than the Cubs have.
Indeed they have. 1-1 to Jay Bruce. They got jammed again with a pitch. Jammed at 79 miles per hour.
You know, that's when you let the hitter jam himself. I mean, unless you're really bringing it hard, that's what you do as a pitcher. You just put it in a spot and let the hitter take care of himself. If he wants to get it on the hands, that'll usually happen. It just goes to show you it doesn't matter how hard you throw. That is strikeout number 4. He just goes upstairs with a high, hard one at 84 miles an hour. Yep, that's the fastball.
That's all for Davis. Rodrigo Lopez will be our Skyline Chili called to the bullpen. Reds lead 3-1. They're loaded with 1 out. Computer. MLB.TV. Baseball everywhere. Reds have a run home. They have the bases loaded, 1 out in the 5th inning, leading the Cubs 3-1. And now Rodrigo Lopez takes over on the mound for Chicago.
Well, earlier last year, a member of the Arizona Diamondbacks, the Chicago Cubs this year. He was a longtime starter in the American League, mostly for the Baltimore Orioles. Not overpowering, but nice moving fastball, little breaking ball. Throws a lot of strikes.
Lopez traded to the Cubs from Atlanta in a minor league deal on May the 26th. And joined the club the following day. 4 days later, made his first start of this season as a Cub against Houston. And then last Friday night, he pitched a scoreless inning out of the bullpen, his first relief appearance since 2009. We mentioned Sunday in St. Louis, he allowed the game-ending home run to Albert Pujols to lead off the 10th. He was having a very good year as a starter in AAA Gwinnett. Johnny Gomes, 1 of 2, has singled and struck out. Fastball is up and away, ball 1. Right down the middle of fastball, and Gomes looks at it for a strike.
The last time the Reds saw Rodrigo Lopez, he was with the Arizona Diamondbacks last year, and in this ballpark pitched one dandy of a ball game against this Reds team. 7 innings of 1-run baseball. Picked up the win.
2-1 on Johnny Gomes. Bases loaded. And that's in the air, right field. Pretty well hit. Drifting back, Fuka Dome, and he makes a catch up against the wall. Tagging and scoring from third is Stubbs. Advancing second to third, Phillips. Gomes a sac fly run batted in to make it a 4-1 game.
Well, it wasn't the kind of hit that the Reds were hoping for to kind of make some distance between themselves and the Cubs, but this ball right here is a must to just get that run in for certain and try to add one more to your lead.
It's 5 runs batted in so far in this series for Johnny Gomes. And we're only a game and a half into this series, which will conclude with a 12:35 first pitch tomorrow. Now Cairo. Barney is there. The short way to Castro, inning over. The Reds scored twice and lead at the end of 5, 4-1.
In 1976, who broke Mike Schmidt's home run record at Ohio University? And the guys right here next to us in the TV booth, Bob Brenly, your old partner when you worked up there in Chicago.
Chicago, Arizona, and on Fox. We were together many, many, many years in the broadcast booth together. And, of course, he told me to beat it to become the manager of the Arizona Diamondbacks, where in his first year they won the World Series in 2001. Won a divisional championship a year later. And we talked about Bob Brenly and guys like him. And not necessarily guys like him, because there aren't that many guys out there that have won a World Series. But guys that for whatever reason are not even being interviewed for some of these managerial jobs in the major leagues, and they're in some cases hiring guys that have never even been to a World Series as a manager. Guys that have managed 8, 10, 12 years and maybe won 2 trips to the playoffs. Mike Quaney certainly would be the exception to that, a guy who more than paid his dues with all those years in the minor leagues as a manager. But he can't be happy about the way things are going in the start of his first full year as manager of the Cubs. They trail 4-1 here in the 6th inning.
Yeah, it's kind of funny, though, Tom, if you have a track record as a manager like Bob Brenly, you can pretty much pick and choose the situation you want to go into. But if you're Mike Quaney and they offer you a job to manage the Cubs, and you've been a lifelong Cubs employee, minor league manager, this is your only shot. So no matter what the condition of that ball club is in, you're going to take it. And if your ball club doesn't play well, they end up in the cellar and you get fired, probably not your fault, but that was your one shot, and you certainly were going to turn it down. But if you've been in the major leagues as a manager and had some success and gone to the World Series, you can kind of sit back and say, no, I'm looking at your situation right now, and I'm not so sure that now's the time I want to take over. Much in the way that Dave Miley had a shot here in Cincinnati, and that ball club wasn't good, didn't get a lot of support from the front office at the time, and now he's back in the minor leagues.
Meanwhile, Edinson Volquez has not thrown a strike to begin this inning after his team has given him a 3-run lead. He walks Carlos Pena on 4 straight pitches to begin the inning. And now Aramis Ramirez, who's doubled, scored, and fly to right, takes ball 1. And 2 on Aramis Ramirez. Virtually no lead over there at first base by Pena, and that's why they should turn this easily. There's one, and that's a double play.
Aramis Ramirez chased a couple of bad pitches in the last 2 offerings from Volquez. This one down in the zone, a fastball, and a 6-4-3 tailor-made double play.
Aramis Ramirez has 193 at-bats this year. 193. How many 3 balls and 1 strike counts do you think Aramis Ramirez has had in 193 at-bats?
25.
3.
I thought 25 was low.
3. And based on what you just pointed out there about chasing pitches out of the strike zone, and that at bat right there, you can understand how it's come to that. On the pop-up this time, it's not going to fall in. Same guy hit it, Blake DeWitt. And Johnny Gomes comes in to get it. Volquez, 6 strong innings tonight as a 3-run lead. Because normally that's money in the bank on balls hit into right field. That's a Coors Light Freeze Can brought to you by Frost Brewed Coors Light. If there is a better defensive right fielder in the National League, we're not going to speak for the American League. We don't get a chance to see them play. But if there's a better defensive right fielder in the National League, we have not seen him than Jay Bruce. Popped up in the air, shallow right field. And the second baseman, Barney, calls off Pena to retire Ramon Hernandez. 1 out. Well, join the Reds Sunday, June the 19th. That's Dad Appreciation Day. The first 10,000 dads through the gates receive a Reds batting helmet desk caddy. I hear these things are really nice.
They look pretty cool.
They're presented by Cons. So bring Dad down to the ballpark. Reds and Blue Jays. Visit Reds.com for tickets or call 381-REDS today. And one of the guys who worked back at promotions was talking about them. They just got in and they were taking a look at them the other day and said they are really nice. Right through the wickets of Castro, and that will allow Giannis to reach.
Now we've seen some non-plays, and now we see an error. This one on the shortstop, Castro. Looks like he gets down, and the ball just came up on him a little bit. Didn't quite get in front of it, but right through the wickets.
Lopez already squared around a bunt. Rodrigo Lopez came on to get the final 2 outs in relief of Doug Davis in the 5th inning. He came in with the bases loaded and only 1 out and only gave up 1 run. That was on a sac fly to Johnny Gomes. That's beautifully bunted there by Volquez. He's having a good night tonight on the mound and at the plate. 2 sacrifices, a hit and a run scored. Drew Stubbs 2 out of 3, grounded to third his first time up, then had a double over the head of Blake DeWitt off the left field wall in the 3rd to drive in a run, and singled into left center field in the 2-run 5th inning. Reds fell behind in this game 1-0. They got 1 in the 3rd, 1 in the 4th, a pair in the 5th, and they bat with Giannis in scoring position here in inning number 6. Struck him out swinging, and that'll end the inning. An error, man left. We go to the 7th. Reds in front, 4-1. Hospitals 2011. By your Cincinnati, Northern Kentucky Honda dealers. And by Wendy's. You know when it's real. Edinson Volquez. You mentioned earlier, Chris, only a couple of times had gone as many as 6 innings this year. Well, he is in full stride through 6 innings here tonight.
Yeah, he really is, Tom. He's only walked a couple of batters, and that's big for him because control has always been his problem. If you look on, even his game logs going back into the minor leagues, he's never been a real pinpoint control pitcher, and very few guys are that have the kind of arm that Volquez has. I mean, after all, he works his pitches anywhere from 94 to 96 miles an hour. Those guys are usually a little bit wild. But you at least have to throw the ball over the plate. He's done that pretty well tonight.
It's interesting to note, Volquez has completed 6 innings in a game, 3 times this year. Most recently against these Cubs on May the 17th. That was the last time he went 6 innings in a game. So if he gets one more out, it'll be a season high. And in fact, it's the first time he's even started a 7th inning. I mean, sometimes you can get credit for 6+ innings in a game. You go out there, allow a leadoff walk or a leadoff hit, and the manager will come get you. But Volquez has not even been on the mound until tonight to start a 7th inning.
Well, usually you look up after 5 innings, he's got 110 pitches. And he just essentially pitches himself out of the ball game, whether the other team's hitting him or not. Runs out of pitches.
Well, he's facing a ladder third here in the batting order. They're going to hit for the pitcher, obviously, down by 3 runs. Well, and Panisoto then that spot.
The next step for Edinson really is the same step that Homer Bailey has made. We've noticed that. And Johnny Cueto has done, which is kind of find a cruise control that you can pitch at, an effort level, somewhere around the 90%, 85 to 90% level. So instead of throwing at 95 all game long, you're working at 92, 91, and then when you need it, you reach back for that 95 and 96 mile an hour. Good breaking ball right here. I like that Exmo pitch, but that shows you right there. He dropped his arm angle just a little bit. There was a lot of side-to-side movement on that pitch where I'm sure if Brian Price takes a look at that particular delivery and says, hey, Edinson, you got a strikeout on that? Okay, but here's a way to make it better. Let's keep your fingers on top and drive it straight down. But he's got to be very happy, Price is anyway, about the way that Volquez has come out and pitched tonight.
Well, the first 2 pitches in this at-bat are as good as it gets. Fastball 94, down and away on the first pitch to Soto, comes back with an 83 mile per hour changeup. So Volquez ahead at 1 ball and 2 strikes. They have Brad Snyder, a left-handed batting outfielder, standing in the on-deck circle. He would bat for Rodrigo Lopez, who goes an inning and 2/3. Does not allow a hit and strikes out about it. Back-to-back strikeouts to begin this 7th inning for Edinson Volquez. 5 of them in the game.
Now this time he goes another changeup right there, and that seems to be the pitch of choice to Giovanni Soto. He's geared for the fastball, and that spin, as you see, is opposite this kind of spin you have on a breaking ball, like a curveball. And he gets back-to-back punch-outs for the first time all game. He's got 5 of them overall.
5 strikeouts, 2 walks. He's allowed a run on 6 base hits. 3 of the hits came in the first 2 innings. Four of the 6, I beg your pardon, came in the first 2 innings. The inning he gave up the 1 run, he allowed 3 base hits along with a walk. And now at exactly 100 pitches in the game, and he's 2 outs into the 7th inning. Oh, what a marked improvement from the The Edinson Volquez we last saw on a Sunday afternoon in Cleveland. Tipped in and then out of the mitt of Ramon Hernandez. Brad Snyder out of the Mid-American Conference was born in Sandusky, Ohio, and played collegiately at Ball State University. Was a first-round pick by the Indians in 2003. Spent a number of years in the minor leagues before making his major league debut with the Cubs last season. It's a nice piece of hitting right there. Snyder off the bench with a 2-out pinch hit single, and will roll it back to the top in Kosuke Fukudome. It's a nice little campus. You've been through there, Ball State University over in Muncie, Indiana?
I have never been over to that campus.
We went over on the Reds Caravan 2 years ago. That is the alma mater of one Zach Bonkowski.
Is he still pretty big over there?
Very, very big. But I don't know why I would have been surprised. I mean, Indiana has so many lovely places and very homey places in Indiana. Very friendly people. Take care of the things they have by and large in that state, it seems like. And well, what a nice place. Long run for Stubbs, but he'll get there, and that's that. Edinson Volquez. 7 innings tonight. They'll stand and cheer his arrival back in the Reds dugout. Text the word Meijer, M-E-I-J-E-R, 37664 right now to be entered. Good luck. John Graybo, we saw him in the ball game here last night. Pitched a 1-2-3 8th inning. They'll face Brandon Phillips, Joey Votto, and Jay Bruce. This is still a ball game. I mean, Reds had a couple of chances to really kick down the door, especially in that 5th inning. They already had a run home, had the bases loaded, and nobody out, and they managed to score just once more in the inning. So a 3-run game. 1-1 to Brandon, who's 0 for 2 and has drawn a walk. Started 2, was able to check his swing. The count even at 2 balls and 2 strikes. They appealed down to Doug Eddings, but Brandon didn't go. Don't forget 12:35 first pitch tomorrow, and there are tickets available. We invite you to come on down to the ballpark. Bronson Arroyo started for the Reds, coming off a good game on Friday night, a win over the Dodgers, and he'll be opposed by a one-time Red. 4-5 right-hander Ryan Dempster. Dempster having a tough year. We thought when we saw him early in the year that, you know, he'd put away that bad start and put it well behind him by the time we saw him here in the month of June. That is scalded into the corner. And Phillips on his way to second base with a leadoff double here in the 7th inning.
Couple of times on base tonight for Brandon Phillips. A walk and this Exmo look at a slashing line drive down the left field line. Yeah, this would be a great inning now in the 7th inning to just kind of put it away. As you said, Tom, the Reds scored 3 times in the 5th. They had a chance to really step on the Cubs in that inning, and they just weren't quite able to do that. You start the inning off with a double, you get something going here.
Brandon Phillips is safe at second base, safe and secure. New York Life. There's a base hit into left field. Phillips had to make sure it was going to fall. So he'll advance to third. They're on the corners with none out.
Well, I'm not so sure Brandon's going anyway. Even if he knows that's going to fall with nobody out, you don't take that chance. That was Jay Bruce coming up next. Good job of hitting right here by Joey Votto. He looked at that first breaking ball that John Grabo threw him and kind of bailed out like he didn't read it as a breaking ball. But he stays right in there from then on and hits that ball a little on the end of the bat, but enough of it to get into the outfield.
Now Jay Bruce, 1 of 3, singled and scored in the 4th, struck out with the bases loaded his last time up.
Well, they pitched him inside last time. That was, of course, the starter Doug Davis, who didn't throw hard but came right in your kitchen.
Bruce still the National League leader in home runs, 1 better than Matt Kemp of the Dodgers, and has 3 more than Prince Fielder of Milwaukee.
Even though he hasn't hit one in 4 games.
And Kemp did a whole lot of catching up over that time frame. Most of it done right here over the weekend.
He likes it in this ballpark.
Here's a 4-pitch walk to Jay Bruce to load him for Johnny Gomes. Second straight at bat. Johnny will step in there with the bases juiced. Well, if there's ever an inning, right now is a time where you really just got to put this thing on ice. Gomes is single to left, struck out, had a sac fly to right to drive in a run in the 5th. Reds have seen a lot of John Grabo through the years. A number of seasons with the Pirates. Last couple of years with Chicago. 1-1. Infield in. And Gomes is out of there on strikes.
Yeah, really pulled off the ball the last couple of pitches, Johnny Gomes did. And you were hoping after what he did last night. Had a sacrifice fly earlier on the night and a base hit. But you can see fooled badly on the last couple of pitches. And that's a big strikeout because now you're setting up for a ground ball double play to get the Cubs out of the inning with no damage done.
Now Miguel Cairo's turn. He's 1 out of 3. He left 2-1, rounding into a fielder's choice in the 5th inning. Reds leading by 3. They put the first 3 batters on base here in the 7th before the strikeout of Gomes. And now it's 1-0 on Cairo.
Good-looking changeup that John Grabo's featuring out there. He's had all the right-handers way out in front of him. Got one up to Brandon Phillips. Laced it down the line, but other than that, they don't seem to be seeing it out of his hand very well.
Phillips, Votto, and Bruce aboard. This one is seen well. Miguel Cairo, a grand slam. That all but puts this baby on ice.
Yeah, that's exactly the hit that Dusty Baker was looking for. Standing on the top step of the dugout, saw the strikeout of Gomes, was hoping that somebody in this lineup was going to come up with a big hit at the right time. And that is worth 4 big ones. Pulled on a changeup earlier in the count and then tried to sneak a fastball by him. No, that wasn't. Maybe that was a cut fastball. But he got it up about waist high, and that's all it took. Off the facade to the second deck.
This ball in the air off the bat of Hernandez will back up Campana for out number 2. And speaking of the number 2, it's his second career grand slam for Miguel Cairo. Knowing the kind of sense of humor that Scott Rowland has and that Miguel Cairo has, you saw them looking at each other. And Cairo saying something to Rowland as they were high-fiving, passing one another, and both started to laugh. I'm sure Rowland had something along the lines to say, hey, I would like to get my job back. Rowland's a funny man.
He is.
Barney gonna throw out Giannis, but 4 on 1 swing of the bat by Miguel Cairo, and the Reds lead 8-1.
see it again and again and again. Off the facade with the bases loaded, Miguel Cairo.
Couple of changes for the Reds. Chris Heisey will take over for Johnny Gomes in left field. And now replacing Edinson Volquez is Nick Massett. He had worked his way back from getting that ERA all the way down in the 3s again after the terrible start the first 3 weeks of the year. But then he was charged for 3 runs in that 8th inning debacle on Saturday against the Dodgers.
Now, Nick Massett went to St. Petersburg Junior College. That's the same college that the Reds' number 6 pick this year went. His name is Sean Buckley, a third baseman. Let's hope he makes the big leagues in as quick a fashion. You know, the Reds have now completed 30 rounds of the amateur draft, and out of those 30 picks that they've taken, 18 pitchers.
Base hit right field by Darwin Barney.
Good looking player here. Third hit of the night. He kind of takes whatever the pitcher gives you. Yeah, I remember talking to Bob Brenly, you and I both in spring training, Tom, about the Cubs and what they were doing, and they kept bringing this young man's name up, Barney. This guy is kind of a scrapper, kind of a dirt player.
Of course, Bob Brenly has a son who's playing in the Cubs minor league system. Michael Brenly, he's a catcher with their Double-A team. Had a very good year last year, was an all-star player in the Florida State League. Played at the University of Nevada, Las Vegas. Two on Starlin Castro. Well, the Reds have to feel very, very good. Edinson Volquez has to feel very, very good.
Well, I think so. You know, you always hope that if you send a guy down, kind of send a message to him, and then you bring him back up, that he finally gets it, and it really worked.
Nadish will play to first and give Castro one out.
I was actually impressed to hear some of the comments that Edinson Volquez made after he was sent down, saying, you know what, this is good for me. I needed it. And sometimes a wake-up call is tough to do when you're making a guy, or when you're sending a guy down making the kind of money that major leaguers are making nowadays. You don't want to waste any good outing that he may have, but it certainly has been a step forward for Edinson Volquez, especially the last part of his outing, where he threw a lot more strikes than entered before. In fact, his last 21 pitches, Tom, 17 of those were strikes. So that is finishing on a strong note.
Now Carlos Pena with a runner at second. And a fastball is off the inside corner. We told you last night during the game about Robert Stevenson, high school pitcher out of Martinez, California, Alhambra High School, the Reds' #1 pick. Well, with a center fielder from Puerto Rico in round 2, Gabriel Rosa. And Tony Cingrani, a left-handed pitcher out of Rice University in the 3rd round. Like you said, though, loading up big time with pitchers in the draft thus far. How many rounds they go now?
I'm not sure how many they go anymore. I'd say want to go about 40 to 45 rounds. Of course, not all the guys they draft they will sign. Some of those may end up going to college if they drafted them out of high school. Some may go back to college for one more year if they have eligibility left.
And that's what happens a lot of times when we're talking about players now on a major league level. You'll hear us say, you know, they were originally drafted by Team X in 2000. And that's a case where they elected not to sign at that particular round, say in the 15th round. And then If you go to a junior college, 1 year later, you can be draft eligible. If you go to a 4-year school, you can't be drafted until after your junior year.
Or until you turn 21.
So the shortstop, 2 are out. We understand it's a 50-round draft, but once you get to a certain point, teams can elect just to pass on a draft pick.
Well, you can pass anytime you want, but I think nowadays a lot of teams will draft through 50 rounds just to have control over that player for an entire year, the way that they've changed the rules. Other teams figure, there aren't anybody out there that we really know that well. Why would we draft them anyway? Have to make them an offer, go through the expense of even going through that process. And then you end up signing a kid you don't know much about, and you find out he's really no prospect. And it costs money to do that.
Aramis Ramirez, 1 out of 3, has doubled and scored the only Cub run of the night. This one lined in right, Bruce there, inning over. A massive, a little bit disgusted with himself, but a scoreless inning.
We've seen him, Edinson Volquez, with a man on base. A nice turn, 6-4, 3 double play by Brandon Phillips. Now let's take a look at it again. That ended the inning. Edinson liked that one. He really threw well tonight.
Don't miss the first 4 for 48 deal of the year, June 17, 18, and 19. The Reds and the Blue Jays. You buy 4 view-level tickets to any of the 3 games. Get 4 tickets for a total of $48 total. And you get 4 free Reds hats. Log on to Reds.com right now. Chris Heisey is first at bat of the game, and we get a look at the former Notre Dame Fighting Irish wide receiver and baseball pitcher, Jeff Samardzija.
Hard thrower, not a lot of secondary stuff. Fourth year in the major leagues for Samardzija. He was only up for 26 games his first year. They actually started him a couple of games in 2009 and then again in 2010 last year. Had 3 starts. Now he's back in the bullpen full time.
Well, he has a hard time throwing the ball over the plate. When he's in and around the strike zone, he can get on a pretty good run. We saw him earlier this year where he had an extended scoreless inning streak.
Well, that's tough for a pitcher to do when you don't throw strikes. I mean, after all, he has thrown 32 innings and he's walked 25 batters. So at least every other inning he's putting somebody on base with a base on ball. It's more like 1 3/4 if you can break him down like that, but you get the gist of it. And if you're wild outside the zone like that, you're oftentimes wild inside the zone.
Izzy pops it up into foul territory. That's easy for Pena. 1 out. Of course, Samardzija gave up 3 runs and 3 hits in his first inning. Wound up going 2 frames out of the bullpen last night. He hit the very first batter he faced, Joey Votto, then allowed a double to Jay Bruce and gave up that home run to Johnny Gomes.
Well, and the outing right before that was extra inning outing where he was pitching in St. Louis against the Cardinals, and Albert Pujols tagged him for a walk-off.
Breaking ball right there, and Stubbs fouls it straight back.
Come for the Reds, stay for more fun. Make it a home run weekend and visit Reds Hall of Fame and Museum. Book your trip at CincinnatiUSA.com.
Yeah, you know, our friend Linda Antis is going to be coming up to see us again.
I hope so. When is she coming back?
Coming up the Yankee series. Tell us about a lot of stuff going on. In fact, I understand she'll be coming up 2 more times before this season is over, and I know the Yankee series will be 1, and I'll make sure that you and I are together for the other one. And also during that Yankee series, you know who else is coming up to see us? Put together his big pay-per-view charity race up in north of Dayton last night. The great NASCAR driver Tony Stewart.
Really?
Yeah, looking forward to seeing him. And Stubbs is drilled by a Samardzija fastball. Phillips started that 4-run rally in the 7th inning with a double into left field. Been on base twice tonight. 1 hit and 3 at bats. Has also drawn a walk. You know, you can say, well, you know, no kidding. But, I mean, it is staggering. The parallel of when Drew Stubbs gets on base for this team. The number of games that they win or don't win. And now you can say there are a lot of leadoff guys out there, that's the case. But really, that's not the case. I mean, Kosuke Fukudome is getting on base a ton. And, you know, the Cubs are not necessarily winning very many games. We know that. But when Stubbs is getting on, remember he had that run about 3 weeks ago where Stubbs was getting on base 2 or more times for 10 games in a row. And that's when the Reds were just unconscious. They went to 8 games over 500. Then they go on the road, and Drew wasn't the only Red that struggled on that extended road trip through Cleveland and Philadelphia and Atlanta, but he really struggled. I don't think he had 5 hits, in fact, the entire trip. But now here you see the last couple of nights, you know, after a tough weekend against the Dodgers, Stubbs gets on a couple of times, hits a home run. Yes, he strikes out a couple of times, but he knocked in 2 runs last night. He's on base for the 3rd time tonight. He leads the league in runs scored. And Phillips is out of there swinging for the 2nd out of the inning.
And there are a lot of people, Tom, that have watched Drew Stubbs play, and I'm not just talking about Reds fans, but scouts among the league and other, baseball operatives, if you want to call them that say, hey, you know what? Down the road, Drew Stubbs may be a better player somewhere else in the lineup other than leadoff spot. But what you present there with all those numbers of the runs scored and wins that go along with those runs scored, you make a pretty firm argument that he ought to be settling into that leadoff spot more and more.
Well, look, the whole strikeout thing is not a secret. I mean, it's not like you're telling anybody something they don't know. But, when you've got a guy who's knocking on the door at 20 stolen bases, and here we are right at 2 months into the year, a guy who leads the league in runs scored, that one lined into center, caught by Campana, but he also leads the league in strikeouts. If that 3rd column can come down a little bit, to quote Dusty Baker, you're looking at a mega player. Go to the 9th. All Reds tonight. The facing of the second deck for the 2nd career grand slam by Miguel Cairo. That took a 4-1 game to an 8-1 game, and that's where we stand at the end of 8. Reds will go to their bullpen. Edinson Volquez returning tonight with 7 innings of 7-hit, 1-run baseball. He only walked 2 batters. They got a scoreless inning out of Nick Massett, and now Jeremy Horst will try and get the final 3 outs of the game. Volquez last year, you may remember, he came all the way back from Tommy John surgery, worked his way up through the minor leagues, and was brought to the major leagues. And things did not go well for Edinson Volquez. He was sent back down, you may remember, to the minor leagues. When he came back up after that demotion, he threw 7 innings of 1-hit baseball, striking out 10. In 7 shutout innings against the Pirates. So while there are a few more crooked numbers than that, it's a very good start in his first start back for Edinson Volquez here tonight. A win would give him a 4-2 record.
What you really like to see on Edinson Volquez is for that young man to really get hungry. I mean, he turned down an offer of a multi-year deal with the Reds in spring training, or at least over the wintertime. Said, nope, I think I can do better on my own. And then here he is, gets sent down to minor leagues because he was doing support. But he's got the stuff. He obviously has the talent. You just hope that he's hungry enough to really put in the work that it takes to take it to the next step. because he's certainly one of those few that have been gifted by God to have an arm that can throw 97 miles an hour. There aren't too many of those out there.
No, they're not. I tell you, this guy is swinging as well as anybody in the National League right now. I may not be putting up the power numbers, but Blake DeWitt is rolling. That's his third hit.
He's had an impressive night. Each hit has gone to a different field. Hit a double to center, a single to left, and here's a double to right field. Rips it down the right field line. They're playing him to go the other way. He just got a nice level swing. They moved him to left field to keep his bat in the lineup, and that's when they began to play Darwin Barney, who kind of earned his way in. He's got 3 knocks tonight.
So leadoff man aboard here in the Cubs' 9th inning, and that'll bring up a pinch hitter off their bench. Lou Montanez, we saw him in a pinch hitting appearance last night. He popped up to Jay Bruce. And he is batting for Tony Campana. You know, every manager has to make a decision on what it is they want to do with their ball club, and you certainly respect every decision that is made. I have no idea whether or not the Cubs believe Tony Campana is going to be an everyday major league player. He's had a couple of very good minor league seasons. I only bring it up because, you know, it's always interesting in a game like this, Chris. You got an 8-1 game. And, you know, oftentimes you got to find out if you believe a guy's an everyday player, but for left-handed batters, you got to find out if they can hit left-handed pitching.
Yeah.
And, you know, here in an 8-1 game, Campana, a left-handed batter, taken down for a right-handed batter with Horst entering the game. And so, okay, you play the percentages. And I mean, well, Mike Quaddy knows his team a lot better than I do and I ever will. But I always find it just sort of interesting decisions like that in games like this that are made.
Well, oftentimes, Tom, when you're looking long range, it's a combination of decision making between not only the field manager but the general manager. Find out where that general manager feels on certain players and what their real idea of, you know, a guy in their organization, can he really help them in the long run, or do you showcase him for a while, hope he gets hot, and then move him in a trade somewhere? I'd imagine that the Cubs are hoping to trim some payroll somewhere along the line.
Well, Ken Rosenthal, in fact, of Fox Sports, reported earlier today that the Cubs would be willing to move Carlos Zambrano, who is pitching much, much better this year than he has really over the last 2 years. Here's a check swing to Montanez. He did not go around. 3 balls and 2 strikes. Zambrano making huge money. Huge money.
Well, if there's an injury of a starting pitcher on one of the big-time teams that has a big payroll, can absorb that money, you never know. You put them in a place like New York, and where they would need a pitcher if they came to that position. He may thrive there. You never really know.
Montanez comes in, base hit, but the runner is safe at the plate.
That's a good call. Paul Nauert was right there. And Blake DeWitt simply got his leg in there before the tag. It was a swipe tag by Hernandez. It looked like he had the ball in plenty of time, but didn't get back in time to block the plate. He gives a little corner of the plate right there, and he gets his foot just underneath the tag. A good slide, a good tag, or a good slide and a good call. And not a bad tag by Hernandez. I thought he got the ball out earlier than he really did, and he just was unable to get it down. That brings up a point we were talking about earlier, Tom. You want Hernandez in an 8-1 ball game to get that ball and step in front of home plate and say, come on, I'll take whatever you have to give me? I'm not so sure you do.
No. Absolutely not.
No. So you'll know until you talk to Ramon about this later. But, I mean, you know, if that's a playoff game with the game on the line and extra innings, you know, he's putting his left leg out there, and he's going to block that guy from getting in there. Got to be a little smart.
There's a broken bat, double play ball here. There's one, and there's two off the bat of Soto. And the Cubs are down to their final out of the ninth. You know, and there'll be those old school or old timers or whatever you want to call them that'll go ballistic over you and I both agreeing on a point like that. And that's their opinion. They're entitled to it. But I mean, I want somebody to explain to me how Ramon Hernandez doing that in an 8-1 game. Give me the upside on any of it. Yeah. Just tell me the upside. You saved an 8-1 game for being an 8-2 game?
I agree.
Well, one of the guys you're counting on to try and help you win a division gets hurt. DJ LeMahieu is now the pinch hitter. Cubs have so many players right now that, you know, right now down on the disabled list. It seems like every time we see teams, they have big guys on the disabled list. We're getting ready to see the Giants, and of course we know about Buster Posey. They just got Pablo Sandoval off the disabled list. He's been on there for quite a while. 1-1 delivery. Now 1-2, and Horst trying to put this baby to bed. Back-to-back wins over the Cubs. They'll go for the sweep tomorrow with Bronson Arroyo on the mound against Ryan Dempster. 12:35 first pitch. There are tickets available. We invite you to come on down.
I wonder if Joe Froley from Canal, Winchester, Ohio would agree with us on that call at the plate if Hernandez blocked it or not. He doesn't agree with me on much, but I wonder if he'll agree on that one.
And that is that. So the Reds have won 2 in a row since they lost the last 2 games of that Dodgers series. 8-2 last night, 2 tonight. And a good bounce-back ball game and a return by Edinson Volquez. We'll be talking about that aplenty coming up in Reds Live, the post-game version. So that's coming up right around the corner. We're back with more in a moment.